So you want to know how to strengthen your feet and get out of the orthotics? Well, in this video, I'm going to teach you a step-by-step plan to make your feet stronger than ever. Now make sure you stick around to the end because I'm going to share with you some of the best hacks that we've learned over 16 years of being in this industry. All that and more coming up.
We are the gym that teaches people how to move instead of just exercise because we believe that health is about performance, not just body image.
Hi, in case we haven't met, my name's Rad Burmeister. I'm one of the co-founders of Unity Gym and co-creators of the Unified Movement System, or UMS, where we take driven people and turn them into superhuman. Now, the reason why we get such astonishing results with our members is because we've created a program that has a balance between strength and flexibility. If you want to know how we do that, you can download our free flexibility blueprint. The link is in this description. Let's get into it. The first thing I want to talk to you about to really start to understand how to fix this problem is to look at the macro picture. So that's how we take you from where you are now to where you want to be. And there's a few steps in the strategy that are going to be really, really effective. The first one is to start spending more time bare feet. So walk around at home. If you can walk around at the office or at work, walk around bare feet. And just that little bit of exposure of your feet being connected straight to the ground without the support of shoes is going to really, really help them to start strengthening. Now, the next step is going to be to start training barefoot. So that means that the time that you spend at the gym doing weights or whatever type of exercise you like to do, that you do that barefoot. Now, of course, you need to be a member of a gym that allows you to train barefoot, like at Unity Gym. The third is going to be to start walking on soft sand barefoot. Now, this is a lot harder than it sounds. If you actually don't just walk straight from the car or the pavement down to the beach and then back, if you actually actively walk up and down the beach in the soft sand, you'll notice it's very, very challenging. And what you want to do is progress the amount of time that you do it from week to week so that you're tracking that you do it for 2 minutes and then you do it for 3 minutes and then 4 minutes and so on and so forth. And then the last one is going to be to start doing some soft sand running. Now, this is going to be something that at first you'll barely be able to do 15 or 20 seconds. It's a killer workout, not just on the feet, but on all of the muscles in the lower body, even the core muscles. And it's pretty tough cardiovascular exercise. And again, you just want to track your progress. So if you start with only being able to do 30 seconds or 3 minutes, whatever it is, that each session you do, you try and add just a little bit of time and you track that progress. So that's in a nutshell, that's the way that we look at the macro picture of strengthening your feet. Next, we're going to be talking about toe crunching and sole crunching. So it sounds funny, doesn't it, sole crunching? But what we're talking about here is if you look down at my feet, the toe crunching is when I pull with my toes so that my heel comes towards the toe. Reset, pull with the toes so that the heel comes towards the toe. Now, you can also do this as a more advanced version. You can do both feet together, okay, like this. Okay, and you can do an easier version even where you sit down, so you've got very little weight in your feet and you do it like this. You can also just have a towel under your feet and just try and crunch the towel towards you like that, so the heel stays still and you're just pulling a towel towards you. Now, the sole crunching is where I'm actually going to keep my toes and heel where they are, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and lift the sole up towards the roof. So you can't see much happening because I've got quite a high foot arch, but have a look at the center of my foot here, how it lifts up, and you can see my toes here. I'm pushing down the big toe into the ground and trying to lift the arch of my foot up, and that's called sole crunching. Now we're getting into eversion and inversion walking. So what I'm going to do for inversion walking, I'm basically going to stand on the blade of my foot and just step like this in front. Okay, so the more weight that I can handle on my foot, the better that this is going to be. But of course, that's going to come with time. So for some of you, you might only be able to do this where you can barely take your weight on one foot at one time. But for me, because I've been doing this for a while, I can quite easily take all the weight of my body in my foot like that. Now we're into eversion walking. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to be, it looks really weird, this one, because it's hard to do too much eversion without your knees buckling in like that, and we don't want to do that too much because that puts a lot of pressure on the knees. But basically, I'm just trying to get the weight right onto my big toe and the inside of the heel, and keep the weight on that part. When you try this, both of these inversion and eversion walkings, you'll feel just in a short period of time, it's quite challenging. And as always, we use progressive overload. So you time the total amount of time that you can do this for. So if you start with 30 seconds, 60 seconds, whatever it is that you can do that challenges you, and then you're going to build on the time to make it more challenging for yourself. Now we're on to toe walking. So this one's pretty simple. You're just going to stand up on your toes and walk around. So what I want to do is keep my body as high as I can and try and keep as much weight through the balls of my feet, especially my big toe, as possible. So what I want to do is I want to avoid coming up and down like this. I want to stay up on my toes at all costs. So you can see I'm very high, okay, and I'm trying to stay up on my toes like that. And then the last one is heel walking. So for heel walking, I'm going to pull my toes up, and now I'm not going to let my toes come down and touch the ground, okay? So I'm just walking on my heels, and I don't ever want my toes to touch the ground like that. I want to stay on my heels. And again, it's much harder than it looks. If you spend, depending on how tough you are, between 30 and 90 seconds for most people is pretty challenging. Now we're on to the bent knee calf raise. So what you're going to do is just come down into a deep squat as low as you can go. The whole reason I've got this squat rack here in front of me is just that it helps support my balance. So for a lot of you, you won't be able to squat down as comfortably as I can. If you can, then you can do this without the pole, but it's good for a little bit of balance. So you just hold on to this. We're going to come up as high as we can and then down slow. Up as high as we can and down slow. You don't actually really need to elevate the toes for this one like you do on a straight leg calf raise, because you're already in a dorsiflex position. For me and my level of flexibility, I can't go further into dorsiflexion there. So what I'm going to do, this is called dorsiflexion. We're talking about the ankle here, and that's called plantar flexion. So that's pushing my toes down. So up and then down slowly under control. Up, down slowly under control. Now we're looking for high repetitions here. So ideally we'd be doing between 20 and 30 repetitions per set. Now we're on to the straight leg calf raise. So this is for the bigger part of the calf, the gastrocnemius. So you want to make sure for this one that the knees are completely straight, and it's good to stand up on something elevated so that your heels can actually go below ground level. See, if I'm on the ground, my heels can't actually go that low. And then from here, we're going to go as deep as we can go, then up, hold for half a second, then down slowly. The only reason why you hold for half a second is so that you don't just bounce like this. You want to really feel that you lock out in your biggest range of motion as possible, so full range of motion. So as far down as you can go and kind of half a second pause so you get a full stretch, and then all the way up, hold for half a second, down slow. And again, I'll say it, the only reason why I'm pausing for half a second in each position is to make sure that I'm not doing reps like this. I've seen a lot of people doing calf raises like this, and it's kind of like the equivalent of squatting like this. It's not what you want to do. You want to take your joints through full range of motion so that you increase your mobility, and also so that you recruit more muscle fiber and make yourself stronger. Now we are on to the leaning dorsiflexion. So I'm basically just leaning back on the wall, standing on a step like this. You can do this on flat ground, but you'll get a better result if you can stand on a step. So it's totally fine if you don't have a step though. Now from here, what I'm going to do is pull up to dorsiflexion and then down slowly. Pulling up hard. I'm actually trying to pull up as fast as I can here, even though I'm not moving very fast, but that's because of the amount of load here. So I'm trying to make my foot go as quick as possible on the way up, okay? So pulling up hard and then down slow. Just do as many of these as you can. Again, if you don't have a step, it's totally fine to do it here. It is just a little bit more intense when you do it on a step like that. The last strength exercise we're gonna do in this video is a high bar barbell back squat. And this is a really good one to start to develop the strength at a much higher level. It says much more demand on the feet here. So of course, we're training barefoot, that's the idea. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna grip the bar. The closer my hands are together, the harder it is, requiring more flexibility in the shoulders. The further apart they are, the easier it is. We're gonna rest the bar at the top of the trapezius, the meaty part of my upper back. So I don't wanna go too high where it's on my neck, and we're not doing a low bar barbell squat, so you don't need to go that low. Just sitting on the meaty part here. Pull the elbows back, get the feet under the bar, take a deep breath. And then brace your abs, stand up, take 3 small steps back. 1, 2, 3. You should play around with the position of your squat. If you don't understand how to get a good squat position, have a look at some of our other videos on the squat. And then from here, what I'm gonna do is take a deep breath, brace my abs, and then go down under control as deep as I can go. You can even pause at the bottom and then up fast. Down under control as deep as I can go, trying to keep the weight even through my toes and my heels, and then up fast. Down nice and slow, pausing at the bottom, keeping the chest up, so you don't want to go like this at the bottom, chest up, and then drive through the feet to come up. But we've got much better squat tutorials than that on some of our videos, but that's all you really need to know for this one. So what we're going to do now is the loaded bent knee calf stretch. So I like to use between a 40 and a 50 kilo weight for somebody my size. I weigh 87 kilos, so I think that's about 195 pounds or something like that. So from here, what I'm going to do is, and 40 kilos, I'm pretty sure this is about 66 or 70 pounds. Sorry, no, about 90 pounds, sorry, something like that. So from here, what I'm going to do is just sink down into a squat with the barbell at the front of my knees. I'm going to keep my chest up, and what this does is it pulls me forward so that I'm really getting a good stretch in my ankles. Now what you can do here is you can actually play around with the foot exercises that we showed before. So with the way of strengthening the arch in the foot, so I can grip onto the ground and do some of these exercises that I was working on before whilst I'm rocking from side to side to create that flexibility. Now we're on to the loaded straight leg calf stretch. So this is for the gastrocnemius. What I'm going to do is elevate my foot like this. If you don't have a step like this, you can just do it against a wall as well. So what you do is you go down low to bring your heel close to the wall, and then you stand up so that you feel the stretch already. But because I've got the step here, I'm going to use this. So then from that point where you've gotten down low, stand up so you feel the stretch. Now watch what I do with my hips. That kink in my hips is not good. What I want to do is stand up on my toes and pull my hips forward so that I try to get a straight line from my head down to my heel. And now I'm getting a really nice stretch in the calves. Now we're onto the kneeling tibialis anterior stretch. So I'm just going to come down onto my feet like this, put my feet flat on the ground, and then just lean back like this. Now if this is too easy for you, what you can do is you can actually elevate your toes, so you can put something that's a couple of inches off the ground under your toes there. And what I'm going to do is just basically hold this position. So you can, if it's too much for you, just rock forward like this and then come back again, hold it for as long as you can. But with all these stretches, everything that I've just shown you, a good time to aim for is 60 seconds on each stretch, and you can do each one of them between 3 and 5 sets depending on how much you need them. Now we're into the quadrupled dynamic calf stretch. So from here, I'm going to go on my hands and feet like this, and I'm going to straighten one leg and push the heel down into the ground, then come back. Straighten the other leg, push the heel down into the ground. I can do both legs together as well. And I'm basically just doing a dynamic stretch for my calves and taking them through a nice range of motion. Now we're on to the standing dynamic calf stretch. So what I want to do, it's quite important that your foot faces towards the wall. If you turn your foot out, this is not going to be very effective. So my foot faces towards the wall. I'm going to lock my knee out and lean forward so that I'm feeling a stretch already. And then what I'm going to do is swing my leg. But the idea is not just to swing the leg like this. The idea is that the swinging of the leg rotates my hip from side to side. The more rotation I can get in my hip, the better, because what that's actually doing is putting a rotational force right down through my leg, so it changes the angle of the stretch and makes it a dynamic stretch and gives you a much more realistic use of the calf and the way that we use it in sporting activities and in running and things like that. The last one that we're going to do is the massage ball trigger point release down on the sole of my foot. The idea of this is just to rub it over the whole sole of the foot. So you can go right up on the toes like this. You can work through the arches, the 3 arches So the medial, the lateral, and the transverse arch. You can go over the heel like this, and you can spend as much or as little time as you need on one spot. So you can do it like this if you want. Personally, I like to apply a little bit more pressure and go through slower like that. You can do this while you're working. You can do it under your desk. No one would even see you. It's a really, really great way to get some trigger point release down on your feet, which is going to help a lot with this journey. Now that's it. That's a really good strategy for you to be able to make your feet stronger than ever. And trust me, this works. Now the biggest hack, I told you at the start of this video, I was going to give you the biggest hacks that you can take away from this, and that is to understand progressive overload and how you need to progressively increase the intensity, the consistency, the frequency, and the volume of what it is that you're doing with your workouts. Now, I'm going to share a little story of how I did that really badly at the start, not at the start of my barefoot training journey, because I've been barefoot training since I was a kid. We used to run around in the bush bare feet all the time. But when I was in the army, those barefoot runners, in Australia they're called Vibrams, the 5-finger toe shoes. They became a really big thing, and I wanted to get some, and so I bought a pair, and the first time I ever used them at work, we went for an 8-kilometer run, so that's about 12 or 13 miles. And I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't understand the concept of progressive overload for running. I knew it for strength training and stretching. And I got such bad DOMS, delayed onset of muscle soreness, so the soreness that you experience after a workout, that for the next week I couldn't walk properly. And I really mean it, I could not walk properly. I was in so much pain. If I knew now then what I know now, what I would have done first is gone for several walks in them, where all I do is walk for maybe a couple of 100 meters, build up to 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers. And then when I started running, I would have done a couple of very short burst runs to start with, just 100 meters, 200, 300, half a kilometer, and worked my way up to it. And you can apply that. So the most important thing to understand there is with the macro picture. So when we were talking about at the very start of this video, we were talking about those 4 phases to the macro loading of number 1, walking around bare feet a little bit more. Number 2, starting to train bare feet. Number 3, soft sand walking bare feet. And number 4, soft sand running bare feet. That's where you really want to understand progressive overload, and watch the start of this video again if you didn't catch it on how to do it. But even the same thing with all of the training, like the amount of time, the amount of reps that you do, the amount of sets that you do, just start gently. And if you experience pain and discomfort, just back it off a bit. Don't stop it. Back it off, make it a little bit easy for yourself, and slowly work your way up and enjoy the process. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to our channel, and make sure you hit the little notification bell on our channel so that you get notified each time we do new videos. We do daily, Monday to Friday, live shows called Unity V, where we answer your questions, and we do a full week of a topic where we deliver some amazing knowledge bombs and really good insights into health and fitness and exercise and calisthenics, flexibility, strength training hacks. And also we do videos just like this once a week as well. So it's a really good idea to subscribe to our channel. And as always, if you like this content, please share it with your friends, comment on it, and make sure that you click the like button. And yeah, we'll see you on the next video. Thank you.